Hmm.
Good morning, Suhail. Good morning, Alexander.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Easter. Let us start. Om Satoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya Om Shanti 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 Om. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. The subject of my Easter service is from death to immortality. We are not a Christian church. We are a Vedantic church. But we respect Jesus Christ and try to learn from his life and teachings. The reason is this, that Sri Ramakrishna practiced different branches of Hindu religion. Then he practiced all available religion that he could really get in touch. So in that way, he had the opportunity of coming in contact with Christianity. The story is like this, that by the side of the Dakshineshwar Kali temple, where Sri Ramakrishna used to live, there used to be several garden houses which were owned by some of his devotees. One was Jodu Mallik, another was another probably a little further, Somucharan Mallik. In that way, there are several devotees who actually own garden houses. So occasionally they used to come there and they used to come to Sri Ramakrishna, meet him, listen to him, and sometimes Sri Ramakrishna also used to go to their place and meet them and talk to them. So in that way, one of the devotees, his name was Jodulal Mallik. He was a uh, uh, Hindu devotee, but as you know, if you know the history of India, at that time, India was a British colony. So naturally, they have a fascination for keeping or knowing what is called Western, something of the Western culture. In that way, in his house, there used to be one portrait of Jesus Christ. But that portrait was, of course, the portrait of uh, Madonna and the child. But time to time, Sri Ramakrishna used to listen to the story of Jesus Christ's life. So in that way, Bible used to be read, and Sri Ramakrishna did not know English. So those who were present, some of them he used to translate it, and in that way he was interested in Jesus Christ's life and teachings. And incidentally, one day after he had heard the story of Jesus Christ's life, one day he was intensely thinking of Jesus Christ when he came back to Kali temple. And he was walking, pacing around the Ganges. There was a parallel road to the Ganges, and a flower garden was there. And suddenly he had the vision of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ had described how he looked, and by seeing him at the beginning, suddenly he could not really recognize him, but that image started coming towards him. And then actually he recognized that the description that he had heard in the book of Bible. So he uttered that, oh, Jesus Christ. And slowly, that image actually entered into him. So in that way, and he had a spiritual experience of Jesus Christ. So then actually he understood that Jesus Christ was an incarnation of God. Incarnation of God means the highest spiritual person in human body. In Christianity, Jesus Christ is described as Son of God. Son of God means he is not equal to God, not God himself, but Son of God. That means he came as if God has sent him, and in that way he is a representative of God. In that way he is called Son of God. And in Hinduism also there is a concept of incarnationhood of God, avatar as it is called. Avatars are, according to Hindu scriptures, is God Himself. That means avatar, God Himself incarnates as a human being when there is a necessity. So in Bhagavad Gita we know that yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhutthana. In that way, there are two lines which Lord Krishna has described to Arjuna that, well, when time comes or when there is a necessity, I come down as a human being. I take the form of a human being, and then actually I make the things or put the things in order. When there are disturbances or there is irregularities, lawlessness, and all those things, then I come down and take the human form. But in Christianity, God and the Son of God are really two different entities. So that is a technical, from the point of theology or religious point of view, these differences probably are scholarly matter. But for us, both of them, God Himself coming down as a human being or Son of God, are really worthy of worship, because we are seekers, and in whatever way we can, whether God is Himself or God has come down as His Son, does not matter to us. The point is that we want devotion and have to have our liberation by meditating on Him or by reaching Him in this life by worship or whatever way we can do. So in that way, though apparently we see that Hinduism and Christianity in the what is called in the social sense looks different, but in a higher spiritual sense, actually, we are all seeking God in different forms, and that Sri Ramakrishna established very well. That means after Sri Ramakrishna, or by reading Sri Ramakrishna, nobody will doubt that. That means that God is really one, and people are really worshipping Him in different forms. So naturally, that is because Ramakrishna had that experience, we also respect Jesus Christ, especially during the time of Christmas. We celebrate His life. It's in probably in most of the centers, all of the centers, definitely in the West and also in India, in most of the centers, the the Christmas is celebrated. Life of Jesus Christ is described, read, and then his teachings are also discussed. So today is Easter, and Easter is very important celebration in Christianity, because at this during this time the date is interesting. That means why this date is fixed. So the history is like this: Easter is observed on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the vernal equinox. So these are the conditions of celebration of Easter. Vernal equinox means that when the sun actually crosses the, coming from the south, it crosses the equator and what is called travels towards north. That is called vernal equinox. And in northern hemisphere, it is the beginning of spring. So this celebration is not new. That means during the time of Jesus Christ also it used to be celebrated as a spring celebration or beginning of the spring celebration. In other places of North India also, in other religion also, this celebration is performed in different ways. But because of Jesus Christ resurrection, as it is called, I shall explain that, occurred in this time, it is really infused together. That means vernal equinox and resurrection of Jesus Christ, Easter, all those things are really combined together. So the story is interesting that how actually this what happened during this time in the life of Jesus Christ is worth remembering. You know, Sri Ramakrishna used to say or taught Especially, we see that when we read Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we find that Sri Ramakrishna is telling the devotees that he taught Keshav Chandra Sen, who was a Brahmo. That means he was a follower of Brahma or one of the pillars of Brahmo Samaj. And they naturally did not accept or follow all the conventions or customs of Hinduism. But in Hinduism, there is a very interesting or very well-known dictum that means Bhakto Bhagavad Bhakto Bhagavan are equal, same. So Sri Ramakrishna taught Keshav Chandra Sen and other devotees also that Bhagavad Bhakto Bhagavan, they are same. So how it is same? Bhagavad is a book and Bhakta is a devotee human being and Bhagavan is what is called superhuman. That means he is God. So how uh, they are same? So it is like this. Ramakrishna explained that in Bhagavata we see that the light of God or incarnations of God, avatars are described. That is a book that is respected by Hinduism, and it was written by Vedavyas. And when he was really in a very unhappy mood, and by writing that book, actually, he regained his composure. That means his mind became peaceful. That story is also interesting. That means after writing Vedavyas, he is very important personality in Hinduism. He did not compile the Vedas, but he actually gathered the Vedas and then divided them into four divisions and then get the responsibility of propagating the Vedas to different families of Brahmins. And in that way, he really revived or made arrangements for the study of Vedas. Then he was present during the time of Mahabharata. That means when Kuru Pandava war was going on at that time, he was alive. And he wrote the Mahabharata. That means the history of these two races or two families of the same race. And in that way, we find the book of Mahabharata, and it is also very valuable, where we find Krishna, the incarnation of God, and his what is called excellent teaching of Bhagavad Gita. That was this whole Mahabharata was composed by Vedavyasa. And then he himself was a teacher and also was a what is called priest in the court priest. So all those things were there. So he had done many things for revival or maintenance of Hinduism. But still he did not have peace of mind. Then at the advice of one sage, Narada, he actually composed this book. That means wrote this book, which is Bhagavatam. Why? Because Narada said that, well, you have written, when you wrote the Mahabharata, naturally you have to illustrate the lives of different personalities. And all those personalities, many of the personalities were not really good, like Duryodhana, Dussasana, or Sukuni. These persons were really bad persons. So you have to write them, you have to think over them. Thinking means meditation. So naturally, when you do meditation on what is called this type of person, your mind becomes disturbed. Though naturally you have done meditation on others also, but your meditation was not really pure. So some what is called impurities have entered into your mind. And now if you write the life stories of different incarnations, they are God. That means God himself incarnated as a human being. So your mind will dwell continuously on God. So then actually you will find the benefit of that. And by writing this Bhagavatam, which is the life story of different incarnation and especially Jesus Christ, actually he got the peace of mind. So the point is that Sri Ramakrishna said Bhagavatam means the presence of God. When we read Bhagavatam, actually meditate on God. So in that way, actually God's presence is there. Then bhakta means bhakta is thinking of God. So naturally he carries as if in his heart God. So in that way, when we meditate, God is present within ourselves. So that is another aspect of what is God's presence that we see. Reading also meditation, and as such, devotee when worshipping and other doing other things or meditating, he is also inside the mind. And also Bhagavan. Bhagavan means God's thought is being thought, God's presence is being thought by the devotee. So God himself is present in the mind. So naturally, all those three things are really combined together is what is called epitome of God's presence. So in that way, Lord Sri Ramakrishna used to say, Bhagavat Bhakta Bhagavan. So the point is this, that means when we read the lives of these great spiritual personalities like Jesus Christ, Lord Buddha, Krishna, Rama, actually we bring them in our heart. So they are present in our heart. In that way, you can presume. Because God's presence we cannot know. That means we do not know where God is residing. But definitely when you think as if He is present inside us, and we can really benefit by doing that. That is why it is important to read the lives and teachings of great spiritual personalities, especially these incarnations of God. So that is why I am saying that a little bit life story, a partial life story. That means what is relevant to today's Easter. That will be worth remembering. So Jesus Christ, as you know, did not live long. That means 30, 38, 31 years, but only 2 or 3 years. 3 years probably was his time of what is called teaching. Very short period. Sri Ramakrishna, if you see, he practiced spirituality, and then actually he had the Adesh, as it is called, as if he was not really interested in preaching, but at the advice or at the inspiration or at the instance of Mother Kali, he actually shared his knowledge with others. Then it was not more than 10 years even. So within 10 years, actually, he preached to the devotees, and in that way, we find his teachings. But in case of Jesus Christ, it was short, very short. In the same way, if you look at Lord Buddha, he had the opportunity of preaching for a long time. So probably about 35 years was his, yes, 35 years probably was his time or years of his ministry. So whatever it may be, so in case of Jesus Christ, it was very short. So what had happened? That means he has started preaching in a way that means after his when he had the opportunity of or got the inspiration of preaching or had the order from his father, that means God, to share his knowledge, then he started preaching. So it happened after his meditation or after his what is called when John baptized him. John the Baptist baptized him. After that, he meditated in the seclusion, and after that, he got that inspiration, and then he started preaching. And he was coming from what is called Bethany. That means he was traveling towards Jerusalem. And as we know, Jesus Christ was Jew. That means he was born in a Jewish family. That means in a family who are followers of Judaism. So Judaism, from the ancient time, there is an occasion when they what is called observe Passover during this time. That means in this what is called in this Easter. Easter means, as I explained, told you that which happens after this at the time of this vernal equinox. So that is a great celebration, big celebration, and also there is a little background. Why do they celebrate? That means on this particular time these Jews were released from the Egypt, and they came back to what is called their original place, which is now Israel, you can say. So that was the occasion when they were released. So to celebrate that, they continue to celebrate this Passover every year. So he was coming to spend his Passover or celebrate his Passover in Jerusalem. So on the way, because by that time, Jesus Christ was really very well known. Well known in a sense that means he started preaching, and his preaching during that time, though he definitely spoke spiritual things, but another aspect of his preaching was that he used to heal. Heal means that means dying man, what is called a diseased man. So diseased people, they used to get cured by his touch or by his wish. All those things was happening, and that attracted ordinary people very much. So crowd actually was following him, and one after another we see that he cure the blindness of a person. Then when he was coming, we see that at Bethany, that means there is a small village or town before Jerusalem, where his devotees were there, and one of the devotees, his name was Lazarus. Lazarus was sick. I mean, after sickness, actually, he died, and he had two sisters, Martha and Mary. So they told Jesus Christ that, well, if you had come little early, then he would have died, because by his touch or by his prayer or whatever it may be, he could have been saved. So they are really very much upset because Jesus Christ was not present that time. But Jesus Christ said that, well, uh, I would like to see where is he. That means where he has been buried. So they took him to the tomb where his dead body was lying, and it was covered with a stone. In those days, that was the custom of burial. So Jesus Christ asked them, "Oh, remove that what is called this stone from the burial mouth of the burial, door of the burial." So they hesitated, because for 4 days actually the dead body is lying there. So it must have decomposed by this time, or started decomposing by this time. So they, some of them actually pointed out to that. But Jesus Christ said, no, don't worry, remove that stone. And Jesus Christ actually entered into that cave. That means where the body was lying, and he prayed and then said, Lazarus, come up, get up. So when he uttered that, actually from that dead body, the life came to that dead body, and he actually got up and came, and Jesus Christ actually embraced him. And then they came together to what is called, they walked towards Jerusalem. And this incident actually, the story or this incident, the news of this incident spread like wildfire in that area. And as we know that if somebody challenges the authorities means that the head priest or the great scholars of that religion, they get very much upset. That means they think that they are the authorities, and why, who can challenge them? So that type of egoism is there. So in his time also, there was this priest and others who were really very much against him, because they are losing their devotees or followers, and people are going to follow Jesus Christ. So they are very much envious, and they are thinking how to really stop this. Jesus Christ, he used to say, King of Kings. King of Kings, in a spiritual sense, that he never meant that he is really ruler of a great kingdom, vast, what is called, expanse of land. He did not mean in that way, but he meant that he, King of Kings means, that means he's Son of God. That means as if by what is called royal authority, he is a king. Royal means the king's, God's dispensation. So in that way, he used to talk, and that actually the priests, what is called, this Jewish priest actually took that he is trying to upset this Roman Empire. That means Rome. At that time, Jerusalem used to be ruled by Romans. So he is trying to overthrow the ruler, and trying to occupy that place or state. So they complained, and they were trying to what is called, put down him. And one day, that during this time actually, it so happened that they trying to get hold of him. That means arrest him, and also bring him near the ruler. That means there is a ruler who used to be governor at that time, and used to say that this person is very dangerous, and he's trying to overthrow the kingdom, because he declares himself as King of Kings. So in that way, they conspired, and ultimately we see that one of the disciples of Jesus Christ, when he was in the supper, that means the Passover supper, that means there's a festival of food, and he was doing that. He actually uh, got what is called, She was a little bit, what had happened, that means when Jesus Christ was coming on the way, the Martha and Mary actually welcomed him by anointing his feet with what is called expensive perfume. And there was a disciple of, his name was Judah. He actually objected to that, saying that, well, this is very expensive perfume. Instead of wasting on the what is called putting on the feet, if it was sold, we could have got money, and that with that money we could have fed poor people. Then Jesus Christ said that, well, there will be what is called poor people always, and you will be able to feed them, but I shall not live long. That means I am not going to be here for a long time. So that was the first indication that he himself had decided that he will leave his body. That means his mission is over, he thought in that way. So whatever it may be, then Judah actually was upset a little bit, and he said that he actually then went to the this priest, Jewish priest, and said, and Jewish priest said that if you can get hold of him and bring to us, we shall really want to check what does he mean by this King of Kings, whether he is representative of God or what does he mean. So Judah actually agreed to that, and for some remuneration. And it so happened that they decided that he will be accompanied by some what is called guards. That means these priests, they had guards. He will be accompanied by them, and they will go and get hold of Jesus Christ and bring them to the priest, and they will actually examine him. What is called from his own from his own mouth. They wanted to hear that. So when the Passover supper, that means that celebration was going on, Judah was also there, and at that time Jesus Christ washed the feet of his disciples, and he said that, well, one of you actually will betray me, and then he pointed out that Judah actually understood that probably he has uh, figured out that I shall be that person, but he actually slipped out at that what is called supper, and went to the priest and said that now you please give me guards, and I shall get hold of him and bring him here. So after this supper, Jesus Christ went to a grove of olives, Gethsemane as it is called, and it is probably outside the city. And there he prayed, and with him there are three other what is called intimate followers also, and they also went, and Jesus Christ actually prayed very sincerely and very intensely. That means he said to God that, well, this burden I cannot really bear anymore. Now you take me back. And that was the theme of his prayer. And his prayer was so intense that instead of sweat, blood actually came out of his body. And then after his prayer, he returned to the disciples who were really a little away. That means he thought that probably they are also praying, but he found them to be sleeping instead. And at that time, we see that Judah came with the guards of the Jewish priest, and they said that this is the person. And they came to, and the guards actually wanted to arrest Jesus Christ. And at that time, Peter, one of the disciples who were really in that group of three, he actually, what is called, took out his sword and cut the one ear of one of the guards. Jesus Christ said that, no, no, it is not appropriate. If you take out your sword, the sword will kill you. One who takes out the sword will be killed by the sword. So he had that magical power or miraculous power. He healed that what is called that torn ear, and the guards actually caught him, or what is called took him to the priest. That means uh, arrested him and took him to the priest, and all of them went to the priest's place. And in that court of the priest, actually, he was examined, and there also he affirmed that he is King of Kings. But it was again interpreted as if he was a what is called he was trying to overthrow and take over the kingdom or the piece of the kingdom of that area. That means the Roman kingdom he was trying to overthrow. So that was a what is called a rebellion, a rebellious person. So they took him to the governor of that place, and they said that told him that this person should be arrested and this person should be what is put into the cross. In those days, actually, killing means the punishment, death punishment used to be executed in that way. That means nowadays there is what is called some injection is given or electric chair is there. In some countries there is still hanging is there. So, but in those days they used to put them on cross. Cross means there is a plus sign, and the vertical wooden frame is longer, so they used to hang in that, and in that way the person is to die out of what is called oozing of the blood. So whatever it may be, when they took to the governor asked him, told him that what has happened. So they said that this has happened, but the governor knew that these priests are actually trying to get rid of him. But he thought that there's no way that, though he was sympathetic, but he tried to rescue him. He said that, well, you see, during this Easter time, Passover time, I release what is called some prisoners. So and some prisoners, one prisoner was the Barabbas. He was a prisoner and he was condemned to death. And he said that, well, instead of him, can I, what is called, release Christ, Jesus Christ? Then the crowd said, because they are with the priest, they shouted, no, no, put him into the cross. So ultimately, the governor did not have any other way, or there's no alternative. He actually condemned him to death by putting on the cross. So in those days, the person who was condemned to death had to carry his own cross, and that ceremony used to be done on a hill. And Calvary, that is the name of the place where they used to perform. So Jesus Christ, along with other two thieves, actually were also condemned to that. They carried their what is called this cross to that hill, Calvary, and ultimately he was nailed to death. That means his hands were stretched on the two arms, parallel arm of the cross, and he was left in that way. And he was, and naturally, along with him, his known persons, his mother was also there, and other what is called other devotees were there, and they saw, and naturally the ultimate has been done, so they returned to their home. It happened in the afternoon of Good Friday, as we know. And afterwards, afterwards, it so happened that one of the devotees, Mary Magdalene, lady devotee, thought that it is when after he had died. So naturally, those who are in charge of the death, they confirmed that he has died. So they took the body from the brought down the body from the cross and put into the what's called the grave in the tomb, and they put that what is called the stone in on the mouth of the tomb, and they went away. And these priests were really very much anxious and careful. They said that we have to put guard because he has such a large following that they may steal the dead body from the tomb. So they were also they were engaged. But one night, just after that, one night, one devotee, Mary Magdalene, came, and she saw that the what is called the tomb is open. The mouth of the tomb is open. That means as if somebody has removed the stone, and he wanted to anoint the dead body. Anoint means by putting some chemicals or oily substance so that it can last for a longer time in the grave or in that condition. But she found that tomb empty. So she was looking for where the body has gone, and he inquired the what is called the guards also, but ultimately she did not find. But suddenly she saw that one person appeared before her, and she could not recognize. Then she said, that, "Are you a gardener?" Then it was actually Jesus Christ himself. That means he has risen from that, what is called dead body, or that resurrected body. That means his body was, the life came into his body, and he actually came out of that tomb. And he was in the garden. So he inquired that, well, can I not recognize? And no, I cannot recognize. And ultimately he revealed himself to Mary Magdalene. And Mary Magdalene actually came running to the disciples of Jesus Christ and in the city and told them that he has sinned. And when she was saying, there also he appeared in front of them. And ultimately they could recognize that this is Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ has foretold, that means she will actually, after death, he will rise again. And then actually, his mission was that after death, actually, they will come after some time or any time. That means then actually they will live with him forever. That was the mission, or that was the final teaching of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is followed because that assurance, that means anybody who will follow him, who will, after death, he will be resurrected and will be living with him forever. That was the belief. So there are certain incidents after that also, and we see that finally Jesus Christ stayed with them for some time, and then after giving his final advices, he said that now you preach me and my teachings amongst people, and when the time will come after your death, he will come. Those who will believe in me and follow me, they will get their final rest, or they'll come, they'll live eternally with me. That was his what is called great assurance. And this is the resurrection. And this is really the samambunam of the Christianity, in a sense that this assurance of Jesus Christ makes people follow Jesus Christ. That means after death, though apparently they will die, but like Jesus Christ, they will again be born, uh, uh, and they will live forever with him. That was the teaching. So that is why it is celebrated, and it's celebrated in a very big way throughout the world among the Christian community. So the point is this, that though we see many people, especially Christian, interpret it as a probably even after death, when they are buried and the body is decomposed, there will be a time when, because they have followed Jesus Christ, there will be a time when they will be born again, that is in physical body, and then actually they live with Jesus Christ forever on this earth. So that is the belief. But definitely, even the what is called direct disciples, some of the direct disciples of Jesus Christ also has interpreted it as that it is not exactly that they will get back their bodies, but their soul will remain with Jesus Christ forever. That is the interpretation. And that needs to be what is called, what Hinduism had to say for this. That is also interesting to know. So we see that in this connection, let me see how the death of different personalities, spiritual persons, have happened in our Hinduism. In Hinduism, as we know, that there are stories of Rama's death. Rama actually, after he came back to Ayodhya and coronated, and then actually the incidents of what is called Sita's going into the Patala, as it is called, as inside the earth. and he gave up his kingdom and instituted his two sons as the ruler of the kingdom, and then he left his body. What had happened? He actually renounced. By that time, we see that he has become old, and he wanted to do spiritual practices and went down. And ultimately, while crossing the river Sarayu, that was near Ajodhya, not Ajodhya, a little far away, and then actually he was carried away by the current. That means his body was not found later on. In Krishna's case, actually, we see that he actually left the body as if intentionally. That means was killed by a hunter. That means the hunter took, by mistake, took the feet of Jesus Christ at 2 years of a deer, and from a distance he threw one arrow to one of his feet, and that poison arrow actually killed him. And Jesus, Lord Krishna actually assured that hunter that he will not be punished for that, and there is no crime in this, and also it will not really go to hell for this. But it was my intention that I should leave my body in this way. So he left his body in that way, and later on we see that his body was cremated on the bank of the river or near the confluence of the river Saraswati and ocean. In that way, he left his body. But later on, we see that there are two great saints of India. One is Mirabai, and another was Sri Chaitanya. So Mirabai was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, and she lived towards the end of his life in the place called Dwarka, where Lord Krishna actually lived. And there was a big temple of there is a big temple of Lord Krishna, and their statue is there, and that is worshipped every day. And it is since the after the death of Lord Krishna, actually his grandson had what is called constructed that temple, and since then it is there. So since Mirabai was a great devotee of Krishna, she used to go to that temple, used to sing songs, and in that way, one day she was, after singing the songs, actually, she went inside the temple, rushed into the temple to embrace the statue. And it is said that after that, her body was not found. That means if her body got mingled up or got entered into the statue of Lord Krishna. That is another story that we find. In case of Sri Chaitanya also it is like that. There are two stories how his death came. That means in one story actually, just like Mirabai, he also went to the temple of Jagannath Puri. He used to live in Jagannath Puri, and one day in a fervor of spirituality, he actually wanted to embrace the statue of wooden statue of Jagannath, and in that way his body actually got into it, and nobody found the body again. So in that way, it is said he vanished into the statue of Lord Jagannath. Another story is that he went to the bank of the ocean, and by seeing the blue color of the ocean, he was in a spiritual mood. He thought that it is Yamuna. So he jumped into it, thinking that in Yamuna, and then actually his body was lost into the ocean. So in that way, he left his body. So these are the stories actually how the bodies live. But the point is that after that also people had the vision of Ramo, people had the vision, spiritual persons had the vision of Ramo, then they also had the vision of Krishna, and also that we see. Sri Ramakrishna used to have vision of a different spiritual person. He had the vision of, as I told you, Jesus Christ. He had the vision of Rama also, as the story goes. And what to say about Mother Kali. So naturally we see that they do not die actually. They do not die, but they leave their body. And those who are followers, actually, ultimately, they come to them in this way, that after death, their soul actually reaches them. That means they become one. You know, those who have into the meditation and all those things and gone a little bit deeper into the meditation, we always say that meditate on your Ishto. Ishto means the spiritual ideal or spiritual entity whom you love most. So in that way, we have the what is called a selected spiritual person. Somebody Rama, somebody Krishna, somebody maybe Jesus Christ, somebody maybe Buddha. In that way, they meditate on that. So what happens to them? What happens to them at the time of death? At the time of death, it happens in this scriptures say that they'll be thinking of because they have loved or they have thought of them or worshipped them throughout their life. So at the time of death, the remembrance of that personality as a chosen ideal will come to them. And by thinking of that image, actually, they will forget their own body. And in that way, their mind with the what is called uh, soul and all those things will get merged into that entity whom actually they worship. And in that way, they become one. They live with what is called that spiritual personality. That is the concept of Indian concept of how actually one becomes one or one lives with the spiritual ideal uh, uh, Ishta forever. So in case of Jesus Christ, apparently though it is taught that physically they will come out of the what is called the tomb or what is called the grave and get a physical body, but that is not really possible because body decomposes and it becomes one with the earth. That is not possible. But the soul actually ultimately will go to the chosen ideal, to Jesus Christ, those who are followers of Jesus Christ, and they will live forever. Forever means it becomes one with that Jesus Christ image, or in what in way actually a spiritual way that he that he exists. In that way, that will the person's soul will remain with him forever. So that has been interpreted, or that has been pointed out by one of the direct disciples. Also, you find that we see in the Bible. And the eternity of the soul is the point. That is the we need to know the entity which is residing in the that means the consciousness is residing inside ourselves. That is actually that part is eternal. And when we leave the body, that part actually becomes one with God, and in that way we that is called we achieve eternity. So body, physical body will not be able to do that. So in our scriptures it has been said, Srinnanto Vishwe Amritasya Putra Aye Dhamani Dibbani Tostu Veda Hametang Purushang Mahantam Aditya Varnam Tamasah Parasta Tameva Viditva Otimirtumeti Nanna Pantha Vidyate Ayanaya. So the sage is saying, hear, O children of immortality, even those who dwell in the celestial worlds, I have realized the great effulgent spirit beyond the darkness of ignorance. That means he has realized God, he has seen God. The way Sri Ramakrishna used to see what is called different entities of spirituality, Mother Kali, Rama, then Jesus Christ, like that. So this sage actually is saying that I have realized the great effulgence. I have realized the great effulgent spirit beyond the darkness of ignorance. Ignorance means that means in ordinary sense. That means in ordinary with our eyes and other things actually you can really perceive the existence of that effulgent spirit. It is inside our mind. That means inside our, it is residing within ourselves as a soul. So I have realized that knowing him alone does one overcome death and become immortal. There is no other way. So this is the way actually we see, that means in Hinduism, the scriptures say that one who has realized God or who had the vision of God during this lifetime, he will become immortal. His body will not become immortal. His body will take its own course. That means after what is called after 50 years or 60 years or 80 years, probably nowadays 100, it will take 100 years to get the leave the body. So body will always perish, but the soul actually will become immortal in this way if one can realize God in this life. We have, that means these incarnations of God, they are a realized person from their birth. There is no doubt about it. They know that their spirit, or what is called, just Jesus Christ also discovered that he is Son of God. And we know Rama, Krishna, they themselves from the childhood, they knew that they were spiritual entities, that means they are God in themselves. And in other cases, we see that Sri Ramakrishna also realized God, and in that way, he had also the vision of God. So, and other disciples also, we see those who followed Sri Ramakrishna during his lifetime had the self-realization, like Swami Vivekananda and other devotees also. So what had happened to them? They had happened in this way. So they actually, at the time of death, they had the vision because they are followers of Sri Ramakrishna. And in that way, they went to Sri Ramakrishna. He said, Ramakrishna Loka. There is a term. These are spiritual terms. There is no physical existence of these places, but spiritual term where they, at the time of death, they think of him and then actually they go to that spirit form, Sri Ramakrishna, or those who had thought of the what is called ultimate reality, they become one with that. That means they don't have to go to any spiritual forms whom they actually meditated on. So this is a very interesting thing that we see. This concept is there in spirit, in all what is called on religion, what is meant by death, what is meant by what is called being one with the ultimate reality or chosen ideal, and what is heaven, and all those concepts are there. But the bottom line is that you cannot really live forever in this physical body in whatever way you try. That means by taking medicine or curing your cancer, discovering the medicine of cancer, whatever it may be, and we are dying in hundreds in COVID. You see, there is no cure for that. So bodies will perish in whatever in any way, but the spirit can attain to this immortality. That is the message of Easter. That means when you leave your body, if you have thought of me, if you have really worshipped me, actually Jesus Christ said that you live with me forever. And that is the message of Jesus Christ on this occasion. So next Sunday, Swami Ishwadhananda give a talk on laughing out loud with Sri Ramakrishna Part 2. He's giving talks on Sri Ramakrishna's what is called humorous teachings or humorous incidents. So that he will continue. That is on April 11th. And we are continuing with our classes, discourses, and discussions group. So Raja Yoga, I am giving the class on Raja Yoga on Wednesdays. So it will be at 7:30 p.m. Then Ishwadhananda is teaching Narada Bhakti Sutras, aphorism on devotion. That is on Fridays at 6 p.m. And I give a discourse on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna on Saturdays, 7:30 p.m. So you are welcome to attend all these what is called classes, discourses, and lectures. Om madhuvataritayote madhuksharanti sindhavaha madhi irno santoshadhihi मधुनक्तो मुतोषसी मधुमात् पार्थिवगङ्रजः मधुदौरस्तु नः पिता मधुमान्न वनस्पतिः मधुमागङ्गस्तु सूर्यः मा दीर्घावो भवन्तु नः ॐ मधु मधु मधु. Sweet by the winds and the oceans give forth blessedness. May the earths and plants bring us health and happiness. Sweet unto us be the nights and dawns. May every particle of Mother Earth be charged with blessings. May the heavens shower us with benediction. Sweet unto us be the noble forest trees. Sweet unto us be the shining sun. Sweet unto us be the all living creation. Om. sweetness, harmony, peace. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you, Swamiji.
If you have any question, I shall be happy to discuss that.
Thank you, Swamiji.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Swami.
Thank you. Okay, happy Easter.
Easter. We'll see you next week, Swamiji.
Thank you. Okay, let us